Story 1. You actually look good in that shirt. Story 2. I love how you don't care what anybody thinks about you. Story 3. You know what gets me every time? When someone says, "You look so good. I almost didn't recognize you." Like, excuse me? What did I look like before? A swamp creature? Story 4. I love that for you. I don't know what it's supposed to mean, but it sounds very condescending. Story 5. Wow, you don't even look deaf. Excuse me? That's extremely rude to say, even if you don't realize it. I am deaf. Story 6. You have been looking better recently. Did you lose weight? Story 7. You are pretty for a black girl. I heard it too many times growing up. Story 8. When I was 13, a friend of my parents, who was probably a creep, said that I was really striking, and my parents were not thrilled. I was so confused by what that meant that I went home and looked it up in our household dictionary. It said being struck with a heavy blunt object. So there I had it. Looking at me was like being hit in the face with a heavy blunt object. Also, rest in peace to my naivety. That man was a creep, and it went over my head. Story 9. Someone I met on a dating app once sent me a big forehead meme and said you look like Megamind if he slayed. I know I have a big forehead, but I was low-key offended, and he said he only sees compliments in his big forehead comments. Story 10. You are very articulate for a waiter. Random asshole, Houston, 2009. Story 11. My stomach was removed in 2008 because of cancer. As expected, I lost a lot of weight. I have returned to an average weight, but occasionally people tell me I look like I have gained weight. That comment no longer applies to me, and it feels like an insult. Story 12. My friend's mother told me that I looked well-nourished. I think she meant I am fat because I am curvy. I was like, what the heck? Why can't people just keep their mouths shut? Story 13. You're so smart for a girl. You're such a good cook for a boy. You're so pretty for a big girl. Story 14. Saying you look like you have lost weight is especially annoying when you are a fat person. Please stop commenting on people's bodies. It is inappropriate. Story 15. I love how you don't care how you look when you leave the house. Story 16. Oh man, I have gotten a lot. My most common comment is that I am unconventionally attractive, and I never know whether to feel complimented or offended by that. I have also been told you are so pretty. I love a girl with a big nose a few times. One time, ages ago, I posted in the normal nude subreddit and someone said something along the lines of, "Wow, so brave of you to post." I laughed out loud. Story 17. You have a glow about you. Are you pregnant? 1. I am a big-boned heterosexual man. 2. My baby is 231 months overdue, but thanks for noticing. 3. As a nuclear engineer, tell me a joke I have not heard. 4. I am a mama's boy and have always shown my love best by eating everything on my plate and always going for seconds. If you knew how my mother cooks, you would be eternally pregnant with all that goodness. She is a French cuisine and pastry chef. Story 18. You're actually smarter than you look. Geez, thanks, I guess. Story 19. I met my elementary school friend again some time ago. My friend said, "Wow, you are normal now. In fact, it is almost pleasant to talk to you." I remained expressionless. Story 20. You are good-looking. You do not resemble the typical attractive man. Story 21. Your confidence is remarkable. Takes guts to be that different. Story 22. You are so X. You must have grown up in a lovely family. No, bitch, I worked my ass off to heal and went to therapy for years. Story 23. Comments about my body make me feel somewhat insecure. I am not fat. Story 24. You are so lucky to be skinny. No, bitch, I work out and eat normal portions. Story 25. You're so tall. Do you play basketball? No. And don't give me that look of disapproval when I say it. It's a pet peeve of mine. People compliment my height, but it's always stupid stereotypes or meaningless small talk. Story 26. You are so lucky you do not have to try hard. It feels like dismissing all the effort, time, and dedication I put into achieving something. Story 27. Congratulations on the weight loss. You look great. It was well intended, but thanks for indirectly saying you thought I looked worse before. Story 28, your husband material. Oh good. Glad to know I'm unfuckable, but you appreciate my wallet and stability. Thanks, I guess. Story 29, you're cute for a chubby girl. I don't know where you find the bravery to cosplay the character. You look great, but I bet people don't think you look like them at all. You do a great job of plus-sized cosplay representation. Story 30. The man who marries you in the future is so lucky. No, I don't even want a husband. It sounds like my highest value is being a good wife. Story 31. You're pretty for a big girl. I'm not a big girl, but I feel cringy whenever I hear it said around me. Story 32. I'm proud of you. Seriously, why? Are you my parent or my mentor at work or school? No, you had nothing to do with my success, yet you are taking credit for it. Story 33. There is an older woman in my life who is very pedantic when she speaks to me. She always says kind things, but her voice changes and she speaks to me as if I were a toddler being praised for putting away toys. I am a middle-aged polymath and polyglot. Because she knows about my difficult past, I think she believes addressing me that way is justified and loving. It is not. It irritates me because I have to interact with her often. Story 34. You have potential. That means you are not doing it, but you could if you were not lazy. Story 35. You look pretty today. I've never been told this before, but I'm laughing a lot. Do you mean I wasn't pretty any other day? Story 36. When people call me sir, I get it. I'm almost 40, but in my head I'm still in my 20s. Story 37. Any compliment in which you include the word actually. That dinner was actually nice. You actually look hot in that outfit. Story 38. You are so articulate, as if my eloquence is a shocking anomaly. Story 39. Thank you for all your support on this. We are handing this off to a colleague now. Boss at work. Story 40. When people say, you're so talented, why don't you still make things or try to do that for work? I never thought of that. It also implies that I'm not trying hard enough, that I'm wasting my talent. And that just because I'm good at something I have to do it all the time, monetize it and turn it into work. I take issue with that. Story 41. They are a free spirit who marches to the beat of their own drum. Story 42. You don't look like the kind of guy who would have an electric vehicle. Story 43. Most sentences that include the word actually place it in the middle of the sentence. For example, I can't believe you actually did something. You actually look surprised. Story 44. That is a good idea. The word actually is used by many people in statements like this, and it sounds condescending. Story 45. You remind me of Daniel Johnston. I am torn between feeling very proud and asking exactly what they mean. Story 46. You are smarter than you look. It is both a compliment because you are unexpectedly intelligent and an insult because you appear unintelligent. Story 47. I once heard, wow, you got such a glow up. You're much thinner and prettier. Like, bitch, did you just call younger me fugly? Story 48. You do a good job, buddy. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. No matter what they think of you, I still consider you a good guy. Story 49. One time I took off my glasses at school to clean the lenses. The guy standing next to my locker said, you actually look a lot better without your glasses. I put my glasses back on and gave him the finger. My mom often gives backhanded compliments about my glasses. She hates my light-colored translucent frames. She tells me, you look so much better when you wear your dark frames. Your face looks 10 pounds thinner. Story 50. When someone says, you look good today, I think, so the other 364 days I look homeless? Story 51. You are very valuable in your role. We do not think advancement is the best choice at this time. Story 52. My mother's personal favorite is, I wish I had the confidence to pull that off. It sounds nice until you hear the passive-aggressive tone and realize she is telling you she does not like your outfit, hair, or life. Story 53. I never worry about you because you always figure things out. Thanks for the hyper-independence, Mom. It would have been nice to have support once in a while. Story 54. People tell me, you're pretty for a big girl. I wish I had that confidence. Anytime I wear a crop top or a two-piece bathing suit, I get comments. I have a 9-month-old daughter, and I have had 2 men tell me I am going to have to beat boys off her when she is older. Like what? Why would anyone say that about my baby? Story 55. I am legally blind, so when someone says, that's so good for someone who can't see, I die a little inside. Or, you're so brave for insert mundane domestic task here. Story 56. I was visiting my sister, who had made a casserole for dinner. Her then 6-year-old son said, this is so good that I just don't want any more. I laughed so hard. I could tell he was miserable, but he thought he was being polite. Story 57. Anything in the spirit of you look good for your age, or you look pretty for a big girl, feels so backhanded. Story 58. Nice to finally see a smile on your face. I've only been battling my depression for months now, and a coworker said that to me today. Story 59. The classic. You are pretty, insert good adjective, for a, insert noun. Story 60. A coworker once said to a woman in her 50s, I bet you were very beautiful when you were young. He meant that she was still beautiful in her 50s, so imagine her at 25. What she heard was that she was old and no longer beautiful. Story 61. You look good today. It is as if they are saying you looked ugly yesterday or the day before. Story 62. I really defended you the other day. She said your breath smelled really bad. I replied, it really does. Story 63. I am autistic and do not easily detect passive aggression. Story 64. Honestly thick, but that is probably due to a history of disordered eating. Story 65. When someone adds the word today at the end of a compliment, for example, you look great today. Story 66. I love that you are not as complicated as my exes. You are simpler. Story 67. I like how you are relaxed in this situation. It gets me every time. Story 68. You have come a long way. You used to be a loser. Now look at you. Story 69. How do you look so good in pictures? I am quite self-aware about my looks, so I was painfully aware that this compliment contrasted with how I appear in person. I received this comment often enough that I decided to look on the bright side. By the time everyone I know and I have died, the only evidence of my face will be those reasonably flattering photos. Story 70. When a performance review describes me as competent, I take issue. I have never accepted competent as a standard. My prior employers used it to dismiss my skill. They mean acceptable and satisfactory rather than outstanding, even when I excel in multiple areas. Of course, they say they cannot give many outstandings because then what would I improve? Damn it. I already outperform the rest of the department. I no longer work for those places. Story 71. You're so confident. The so is always drawn out. Like, seriously? Not about me, and this is very specific, but the creative team of Maybe Happy Ending, a current musical on Broadway, said that Darren Criss was not leading man material after he won a Tony for the role to justify a poorly received casting decision. Felt like he was catching strays. Story 72. Someone once said, you're so smart, it's scary. Okay, you say that like I'm gonna take over the world or something. Story 73. Sorry, I can't assist with content that sexualizes family members. I can help rephrase it to be non-sexual for text-to-speech. For example, among your 3 brothers, you are the tallest. Story 74. The phrase you're better at sports than you look is one I will hate to no end. Story 75. About a year ago, I was having my first intimate experience with a woman. When I had my clothes off, she told me I was in far better shape than she had expected and that I was packing more than I looked like I would. So when I'm clothed, I appear out of shape and seem to have a small package. Cool. Story 76. When you bump into someone you haven't seen in a long time and they say, you look the same. The same? I haven't changed at all. Story 77. After losing weight, being told you look great is a compliment, but it can feel like people are saying you used to look like shit. Story 78. You are so skinny. Thanks. I deal with chronic gastrointestinal issues that make it impossible to gain weight. Fuck my life. Story 79. I used to work in a retail store geared toward women, so they made up most of the clientele and staff. Many of the women who did not like each other but were nice to each other's faces would say, "You know your makeup actually looks so good today," dripping with sarcasm. Or if they got food on a break, they'd say, "Love to see you cutting back on the calories." It was never aimed at me, but those wars made me toe the line in a way management could not. Story 80. You're super mom. You can do it all. I don't want to do it all. Story 81. You look so comfortable. I never know what to say to this. Maybe it is an insult. Laughing out loud. Story 82. All of them. I was bullied a lot as a kid, as many kids are, and no one at home gave me the time of day. My parents would say, "It's no problem. They're just teasing you." I told them that mom calling me a derogatory name wasn't teasing. They replied, "Well, I don't know what to tell you. My show's back on. That television was more important than me." Story 83. Someone you have not seen in a long time says, "Oh my God. Hey, how are you? You look really well." It always inspires me to eat fewer carbohydrates. Story 84. I always cringe when someone younger calls an older person young lady or young man. Story 85. When guys tell me I'm in great shape and that women must love me, I'm in great shape but women do not love me. Story 86. I asked my girlfriend to tell me my biggest compliment, and she said right away that I calculate fast. That definitely felt like an insult, but hey, it became an inside joke between us. And every time there is something to calculate, I just shout random things and we both say, "Damn, that was fast." Not right, but fast. Story 87. I posted a photo of myself at a convention to Discord, and one member said, "Oh, you look like some pedophilic YouTuber." This has happened several times by different people. I no longer post my face there. Story 88. You are not like the other girls. It feels like internalized misogyny rather than a compliment. Story 89. You are doing well for yourself, and you're the one I never expected to. Story 90. When someone compliments you on how well you do something you consider easy and assume everyone else finds easy too. Story 91. It's very you. I love that for you. I wish I had your confidence. Story 92. Someone told me today that they always thought I had a pretty face, but that I was kind of chubby. I am so skinny and look great now. Story 93. I was told by my partner's best friend that I looked like the lead singer of Blue October 15 years ago. I was not flattered. Not funny. Story 94. I only know half of you as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you as well as you deserve. Story 95. For example, Jimmy Fallon often introduces his guests by saying that his next guest is very talented. Calling someone talented diminishes their skill and the many hours of hard training and effort behind their work. Story 96. You look like insert celebrity. I do not care if I am being compared to the most attractive man alive. It makes me sound like a derivative of what you really want. Story 97. Have you lost weight? You can really see it in your face. Story 98. You should wear your hair down more often. It looks good that way. Story 99. I always thought the saying, "age before beauty," was supposed to be a compliment or a nice gesture. Story 100. When I was in 7th grade, someone told me my hair looked really good yesterday. If it had been meant as an insult, it would have slid off like water off a duck's back. She meant it as a genuine compliment, and that made it so much worse. I was crushed. Story 101. You have a face that would be perfect for radio. Story 102. Even she got her high school degree. Unlike my uncle, who didn't finish school, I was the first person in my mother's family to earn both a high school diploma and a college degree. Story 103. I love how confident you are in your body. What's wrong with my body that I wouldn't be? Story 104. You write beautifully even though you have the vocabulary of a baby. Quote from my high school French teacher. Story 105. You look so good for having 3 kids. Am I supposed to look like a stretched out fat cow? You look so good for 40. Am I supposed to look like a wrinkly old hag? and you're shocked that I don't? Story 106. What did you do to your hair? It looks so good. I just took a bath. Story 107. It's the shock or surprise in the voice and face of the person giving the compliment that adds a layer of insult, no matter what it is about. For example, did you do that beautiful artwork by yourself? Did you make that great cake instead of buying it? She married you and you are still married? You make that much money in that job? You? Story 108. You look so good today. What happened on all the other days? Story 109. Some white guy once told me that I was actually hot for an Asian girl, not just cute. I made an excuse to use the restroom and left in an Uber, laughing out loud. I thought he was a freak. Story 110. That suggestion? I do not hate it. Story 111. I used to look much younger than my age. While it was a compliment in my late 20s, it upset me during my teen years. People said things like, you look like an 8-year-old, you look like a child, you should not marry in public, your parents will be accused of child marriage. I was 28. There was one comment I could never shake from my mind. Once, during an argument, a senior at school told her schoolmate to leave it because she probably still had her baby teeth. After all these years, it still haunts me. I do not know exactly what she meant, but I never felt more humiliated. Story 112. You're pretty strong for a girl. Wow, you're a lot stronger than you look. Story 113. I wish I had your confidence to wear something like that. Meanwhile, you are just existing. Story 114. I do not know half of you as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you as well as you deserve. Story 115. I think that is a form of passive aggression called damning with faint praise. Examples include the following. You look really good for your age. This is really calling the mold. The new restaurant was not as bad as I thought it would be. A modest man with a lot to be modest about. Story 116. That is a great picture of you. It does not look like you at all. Story 117. It is good to have someone who actually wants to work. Thanks, but that makes me sound desperate. Story 118. You are photogenic. Does that mean in real life I am ugly? Story 119. Love that journey for you. Good to know. Bless your heart. Story 120. Compliments that secretly sting. You clean up nicely. You're braver than I expected. And wow, smarter than you look. Ouch, right? Story 121. When I was a kid, I asked my dad why my sister got so much more attention. He said, because you're low maintenance, dude. I thought it was a huge dig and felt offended. I had no idea what it meant. I later realized he meant her attention was not positive and that I was an easy child to parent. Story 122. I've had your psoriasis is looking better today. Fuck. Thanks. Story 123. Estás muy tetona. Pareces vaca lechera. Mejor no me digan nada. Story 124. If I'm told I did a good job on a presentation, I usually assume it was subpar. I notice people comment more when it went badly versus when I nailed it. They often say nothing when it went well. It feels like people know presenting is hard, so they blow smoke to make you feel better about a poor performance. Story 125. You don't look autistic. Thanks, January. Let me eat some crayons for you and drool so you see it better. Story 126. You are a very beautiful black woman. It is so cringe. Why does my race have to be mentioned? It happens so often. Just say you are beautiful. Story 127. I'm physically disabled and have a chronic pain disorder, so doing daily household tasks can be challenging. Because of this, people sometimes act like I'm a hero for doing my dishes or walking my dog, as if these are massive accomplishments rather than everyday things I do like anyone else. For example, they tell me I'm an inspiration just for existing. When I tell them about my day and mention training a dog, I am a trainer, cleaning or running errands, they go from saying hum or yeah while I'm talking to lighting up and saying things like, oh wow, that's incredible, good for you, or you did that. I know they probably have good intentions, which I appreciate, but it is really insulting. I don't know. Story 128. The phrase, bless your heart, is definitely an insult in the right context. Story 129. Please say something nice about her spirit, her intelligence, her ability to navigate the world and be kind about it. I don't care what people think of her looks. B. She is my daughter. Thank you for your misogynistic swipe in our direction. You got a 2 for 1. Story 130. To me it is wow. You don't look like a particular race. I would never have guessed you were that race. Even your English is good. Story 131. Winning the most improved trophy during basic military training. Also known as the You Were Shit, Now You Are Normal award. Story 132. You look so nice today. Me suppressing my rage. Thanks. Story 133. Let me do this since she is good at it. You can do anything since you are smart. But I know I am not. I know my capabilities. If I were smart and good at anything, I would not be unemployed right now. I have been unemployed since I graduated. And it sucks. Story 134. I hate being called Gordy or Chubby. The truth is it is an ugly nickname. Story 135. Many girls told me, nice dick, but I'm not going to let you put it in here. Story 136. You have such a pretty face. Yeah, thanks. Look, I know I'm not a 10, but pointing out that you think the only good thing about my entire being is my face is not exactly a compliment. Story 137. My boss told me I am good at being wrong. I laughed because I knew what he meant, but a nearby coworker was taken aback. He meant that when I am proven wrong about something, I immediately own it and am pleased to learn, but the coworker interpreted it as meaning I am wrong a lot. Story 138. How many months pregnant are you? Are they twins? I am a fat man. Story 139. Somebody once called me wholesome with a sneer. Story 140. Any compliment followed by the word today. You do not look lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or other identities. You do not look disabled or as if you have a mental illness. Story 141. I used to hear the phrase you are just right for me about sex and size. I now realize I am the right size for many women because I am well proportioned. Story 142. Are you a Gemini? I usually dislike Geminis. Cool. I don't know what that means, but I'm glad we get along. Story 143. Wisdom has been chasing you, but you have always been faster. Story 144. I have been on a glucagon-like peptide 1 medication and have lost 35 pounds. I weigh 145 pounds now. People say strange things such as, wow, you are disappearing. How much more are you going to lose? You are skinny enough. And you do not even look like yourself. I do not look sickly, so I am not sure why these comments have negative undertones. Story 145. I wish I had your self-control, she said after I had lost weight due to a medical condition. Story 146. People say I love your confidence when I compliment my looks. Like FYM. What about my confidence? Story 147. Someone says something nice and then adds for your age. Story 148. You got so pretty. Kinda makes me think they thought I was ugly before I bloomed, I guess. Story 149. One time I cleaned the kitchen, and my mom said, oh, I did not even notice because you cleaned it so well. Story 150. I am a multiracial woman and have heard, you are so exotic far too often for men. Story 151. Really? I didn't think you were that old. I'm 38. They talk like I'm fucking 90. Then they say, I thought you were 29 or 30. As if there is an enormous difference between 29 and 38. Story 152. Saying you're so brave for wearing that sounds nice, but it feels like a dig at my style choice. Story 153. I wish I had your confidence. In reference to someone's outfit. Essentially saying, wow, I would never be confident enough to look as disgusting as you and wear that. Story 154. When someone says, wow, you are so handsome, then immediately follows it up with, where are you or your parents from? I know it is meant to be a compliment, but it always rubs me the wrong way. Story 155. Shortly after my wedding, a married friend told me I was finally a respectable person. I found it quite offensive. Story 156. People make you feel bad for looking good when they say your skin or hair looks great. Then add, wow, you spend that much time on your skincare or on your hair? with a subtle look of disgust. Story 157. Here is one. Someone said, "Ah, why do you need a service dog?" I replied, "I am autistic." They said, "You look too young or normal to be disabled." It is like, thanks. I wander so much that I need a four-legged homing system to get away from people or to find my family. And do not get me started on my memory. I forget things like the 8 times I almost burned the house down with the oven. So yeah, random woman, I am disabled. I am physically 18 but consistently meet the developmental markers of a 10 to 16-year-old depending on the day. On a really good day when I mask, I can act my age, but normally I function at a young teen's level. Story 158. You are so pretty in the face. Okay, Felicia, the other 90% of me is what? Of course, I am a curvy woman. Story 159. Some of my classmates would say, "Wow, you're actually smarter than you look. What do you mean by that?" Laughing my ass off. Story 160. I do not like a man with too much muscle. You are perfect. No, call me cuddly or something. Do not minimize how hard I work in the gym. Story 161. Being told you are so nice and sweet, as an explanation for being friend-zoned still triggers post-traumatic stress disorder. Even after all these years. This has happened on multiple occasions. Strangely enough, today I would probably consider it an actual compliment. Story 162. You're so pretty for a fat girl. Excuse me, what? Story 163. When you are clearly older and someone says, "Hello, young man." Story 164. When someone says you have lost weight, I appreciate it, but damn, I am insecure and a bit sensitive about the fact that I am overweight. Thanks, though. Story 165. That was actually funny. Bitch, as if I'm not funny on a regular basis. Story 166. Your hair is so pretty. I hate mine. There's a straight and beautiful, while mine is oddly brushed out. Story 167. I ran into an ex-girlfriend at the store once. She looked at me and said, "You lost weight." That was true. I had lost 40 pounds since being with her. But she said it like an accusation, with angry eyebrows, not as a compliment. Meanwhile, she had put on a lot of weight. I will not lie, that was an amazing moment because she had made me feel like shit when we were together and she could see my life had improved without her. Story 168. Good for you is supposed to sound all right, but at times it can come across as an insult, especially when you are excited about something. Story 169. Wow, you're stronger than I expected. Thanks. I'm glad to know that all those hours at the gym made no difference to my appearance. Story 170. Girls who know I have not had breast augmentation and who dislike large breasts say they are jealous of my Playboy-sized breasts. A random man at tennis said he usually dislikes tattoos but that he likes mine. Story 171. You are so mature for your age. Yes, I am a parentified child with no needs. Thank you. Story 172. I don't care what anyone says about you. I consider you a friend. Thanks. Story 173. You have beautiful eyes? Yeah, that one stung for a bit. Story 174. You are beautiful on the inside. Laughing out loud, you are effectively saying the person is unattractive. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.